just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another Packer Up, boys. And oh, yes, I've got a big announcement. Well, it's not that big. I've already announced it, talked about it last week, but it is locked in. It is confirmed. Brand new segment starts on Monday. I seriously cannot wait. And my goal has been that we eventually, and I know we're like 10 years away from it, or even 20 years away from it, or maybe it'll never happen, but I'd love one day to be like the number one rugby league show, regardless of our platform, regardless podcast, mainstream, whatever. And there was always this one thing there's two things. One day I hope we can use footage. And yes. I've already tried to sort that out, and it's been a long, arduous journey that unfortunately hasn't been resolved yet. But the other thing was because we did a survey last year, and in the survey we asked what's one thing where you think we could improve on, and one of the most feedback, and we've seen it a lot in comments too, and we were already aware of it as well, but it's just good to see that the community's on the same note as us, is what's kind of sometimes when there's a big story, for example, we might go, I reckon this player's on 800K. And because we don't get involved in all the inner workings of we're not calling player managers, we're not calling clubs, we're not calling CEOs. We're more analysing the game of rugby league and also analysing what's happening from an outsider's perspective. We don't really know the ins and outs of the stories. And so this segment that we're bringing on Monday, it's all about that. It's about, okay, whatever the biggest story is each week, can we bring in someone that has the inside understanding of what's going on? It's a good example is the Dylan Brown situation or the DCE situation. What really went on? What went on behind closed doors? And that's what the new segment's going to be about. Whatever the biggest story is that week, we're going to be able to get someone in to be able to give us the real insight, bounce questions of them, say, have you spoken to this club's CEO? Have you spoken to this? It is going to be so good, and it's just that last final step to rounding us out so that when you do come and listen to a bloke podcast, you get real, I believe, good analysis, but also you can get the insight in the stories as well. And that segment starts on Monday. I cannot wait. Yeah, so I'm stoked. So can't
good.
Wait. So
people want, it's not just about the drama, but people want the insight. And as you said, bro, you've got an audience that follows bloke, and they also want that to be their source of information for everything. So yeah, I think it's going to be sick.
And even in contract negotiations and stuff, what really happened? Was that club really interested? And, if we get someone in and they're like, no, I've spoken to that club and they've said absolutely not interested, blah, 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 or whatever. So,
but to give you and the bloke team a wrap as well, I feel like there's taking what we know from mainstream media and then also adding that layer of authenticity and asking the right questions about certain things that people want to know, the style of bloke. So that'd be cool.
That's a good point. A question from a perspective of where the questions the audience would be asking is this really happening? Or is this really happening? So, man, I just can't wait. What do you reckon, Matty?
I love speculating. It's one of my favourite things to do, but it's going to be better to be able to speculate with a few more facts on the table.
Yeah, and just get a bit more accurate. And in rugby league, it's a lot of the cases that the truth is it's halfway in the middle. Sometimes you can never find it. But just to get a better read of the situation, I feel like that's one bit of the feedback. Essentially, the feedback was boys, love the show. Sometimes when a big story comes up, though, you guys admit it, you're just guessing. And so it'd be good to get a closer insight into it. And so as I said, the last, I guess, rung of the ladder is footage. I would love to be able to play footage whilst we're talking about it. But after that, I feel like we've got the right skeleton of a show to grow into one of the bigger ones, I hope.
Out of interest, with that, with the chat around footage, is there other sporting examples where it's not completely through paid or endorsements, like other sports? America comes to mind.
Well, NBA, I'm pretty sure they allow. Well, it's a tough conversation because I get where the powers that be come from. If you're the networks, you pay.
Yeah, I see both sides.
I get it. However, on the other side of it there is such thing as fair use. And fair use, essentially, if you are critiquing something or it is newsworthy or you're transforming it enough, you're actually allowed to use the footage. Now, you don't want to get in those kind of weird fights, though. No. You don't want to be... Because you know what? Because what happens... The NRL isn't between a rock and a hard place. Let's say I go and just go down that route and be like, dig my heels in and go, under fair use, blah, 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 blah. The NRL, they probably we understand, but we see this, I don't know, Fox 9 or whoever it is. They just paid $1 billion, bro. So we're just trying to keep everyone happy. I think, now don't get me wrong, everyone's gotten much better at it. They really have, like, in understanding, because the way I see it, and I think the way a lot of the younger audience see it, is that we're actually adding to the game. So for example, like, let's say you're a network and you're like, I don't want anyone else to be able to use that footage. The argument from the younger generation is like, we're not replacing the game. We're actually driving more people to sign up or driving more people to watch the game on the weekend, because we're not even playing the whole Heights. We might play just one try. And so if you're a casual watcher of rugby league and you see that footage, you might go, you know what, I am going to go to a game, or I am going to watch it. And look, so it's just, I get both arguments, because you know what, you actually need both. You need the audience engaged, but you also need the big networks paying big money to keep the game going. And if we lose the networks, we're like stuffed.
I agree. Like you said, I think in a future contract, if we can separate the game rights and have people in a position where they've got huge audiences or creating content and they can actually reference footage, it only grows the game. But it's where, like you said, we're probably not at a point where we can dilute the current contracts, because it's just too valuable, and I just don't think they're there.
They pay so much money, and also the problem is people do take the piss. Like, I know everyone goes, oh, come on, make it a free-for-all. And they go, okay, let's now the rule is it has to fall under fair use and you're only allowed to use 90 seconds. And then before you know it, people are putting whole games up on YouTube, or 30 minutes of uncut footage with no transformative features of the footage. And that's where you can understand where where like paper, like for example, Dana White, like UFC, notoriously quite like stringent about it. They've loosened up a little bit. But like, think about how pissed you'd be as Dana White. You put on this big pay-per-view and there's 1 million people streaming it illegally. Like, of course you'd be pissed. Yeah. Of course you'd be pissed. So I really do get both sides of the argument. I think that I hope one day that we get into this really good balance of, they're almost trusted content creators where they're like, listen, we know you, we know what your number is. Yeah, that's cool.
I like that. That's cool.
And we've ticked you off, and if there's ever any issues, we're going to give you a call and let you know, mate, you're taking the piss there, and that's actually not fair. But
even if it is a registration, I mean, I know you'd at least come up with some investment to be able to do it, if
absolutely.
That was the case.
Like, if they were like, you got to pay X dollars that was reasonable to be able to use it, I'd be like, yeah, sweet. But as I said, mate, I know, it's, people like to beat their chests on the internet and be like anti-establishment everything. And it's like, mate, you still consume establishment stuff. Yeah. Like, without the establishment, you don't get rugby league. Like, the big money that gets thrown into it, so there has to be a give and take here or there.
I think if you run a business, you understand the realities.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, and that's what probably opened my eyes a lot, is when you do run a business, like, you see how hard you work, and people just kind of like that may not have had the fortune or been lucky enough to run a business to actually see how hard someone may have worked to get to a certain point. And let me be clear, I am not excusing all the shit stuff that goes on with the establishment, like, not at all. I'm just saying that, like, if tomorrow we woke up and the big dog said, you know what, stuff yous, we're just going to focus on reality TV, like, we would be devastated. Like, no, rugby league's done. Like, what do we do? You know what I mean? What do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah. There's talking about any establishment. Like, I thought I was like that a little bit, but and this is actually tying back to the whole news thing. But like, I read newspapers. Yeah. I love that shit, and there's a reason that's been going on since the start of time, and it's never going to die. So there's no point trying to fight it. I reckon.
I would say, like, we can fight it in the sense of, I would say that media has actually gotten a bit better at understanding that the wider audience has changed a little bit, and they're not going to cop such negativity or such hard stances.
Sorry, let me change my wording. Not fight it. We should somewhat embrace it.
But also, like, be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of people that are, I'm anti-establishment. And you're like, okay, are you really? All right, what do you watch? I watch like this show, but I hate it. But it's like, yeah, but you still watch it. They know that you're, and so, yeah. And also, like, think about how many goods, like Matty John's show. Like, imagine if that disappeared tomorrow. Because that's on a mainstream channel. Like, we lost Matty Johns, Fletch and Hindy. Like, they're like a core tenet of rugby league.
Like, Thursday Night Footy now for me is watch 80 minutes of footy and then roll straight into the Matty John show.
Yeah. And so, as I said, I think there's a balance at some point. Hopefully we find it. So
I think about that with content sometimes, and it might be something I'm completely against, but then I'll comment on it and I'm like, well, you won.
Yeah, you got me. 1-0.
That's what you wanted.
Yeah, all the rage baiting stuff that you see on Facebook and that. Oh, man, gets me every time. Even though I know that it is literally just being produced to divide. Like, that's a scary thing. See, I think we're in a bit of a different... Like, when you talk about sport, that's not in the same ballpark as creating rage bait to literally divide the society. Like, it's sport, you know?
You get the odd controversial media clickbait line, but all in all, it's factual about what's actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you might get, like, a situation where you feel like a journo has just gone way too hard on a player, which is, like, that might happen every now and then when you're like, it's... Because, like, a lot of the time, if you actually read the story... it's really just their opinion. Like, they might be being critical of a player. It's when the thing that I get frustrated is when, like, you know, they go way too hard and you're like, mate, you're talking about that person as a person. You're actually not talking about his rugby league anymore. That's when I go, that's a bit too much. But yeah, I'll tell you what, it is getting scary online now, like how algorithms are designed for the most extreme. And it's just, and you see it, like, you know, an article comes up, you know, the person writing that is totally aware of the impact it's going to have. Like, the comments are just going to be divided down the middle. Everyone hates everyone. And it's just like the algorithm is just creating us to get further and further apart, further and further apart. It's so scary. It's so scary. Like, our lives are dictated by algorithms now. It's so mental. It's so, like, think about how much impact computer algorithms have on you on a daily basis. Like, constant.
That's what we know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we know. What about all the stuff we don't know of? Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah. But as I said, like, sport's a little bit different. Like, it's not that serious. No. When you're really, like, sport's serious, it's my life and everything. But when you talk about serious stuff, of the stuff that's really dividing, if anything, sport's the last bastion of bringing people together, in my opinion. Like, that's what I've always loved sport so much, is that, like, when you walk in that door, all that other stuff, whatever your personal preferences are, whatever your politics are, whatever it is, goes out the window. And that's what I love so much about sport. And I honestly feel like it's almost the last bastion of where you can truly just be brought together and none of that stuff matters. To a degree. Like, I know, you know, it's not perfect at all sport, but it is closer than, you know, just normal life kind of thing.
Sport can also bring people together within sport. Like, I'm not talking to any Roosters fans today because we're playing, but in a few weeks when we play Queensland, we're all on the same team.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I've always really liked about sport. Now, granted, I'm not saying that sport's perfect or even all the content we create is perfect. Like, you know, sometimes we say dumb shit, but it's better than, you know, the other shit. It's better than the other stuff. So, yeah, don't forget as well, guys, hit that like and subscribe button, comment on YouTube and Spotify. It is really, really helping us. We have had a record first month by a long shot this year, guys, and that is all thanks to you guys subscribing and liking, consuming the content. And when I say, like, by a long shot, I'm talking like a lot.
It's been a good March.
It's been a huge March. We've never had numbers this big, and it's all thanks to you guys. And genuinely, just hitting that like button each time, it genuinely, like, I know I've said it a million times, but it still blows me away. And I have to keep repeating myself because I'm so pissed off at myself that I didn't say it for like 10 years. And don't forget, guys, also make sure to join the Bloke Club. The other day on Monday, we gave away $2,000 cash. Oh. Have you already contacted them?
Yep.
They've already been contacted. That is right. If you are in the Bloke Club, each month we give away prizes. The first month was $1,000. Guess what the second month is? Sorry, the first month was $2,000 cash. Guess what the second month is? Another $2,000 cash. That is right. We're giving $2,000 cash away again. And it is completely free to join. There is no strings attached. On top of all of that, so every month we give away prizes. On the fourth month, we are giving away a Mazda BT50. Thanks to Luke Camilleri. His Instagram is LDC_01. Please, guys, if you are looking for a car, shoot him a message. Tell him Bloke sent you. He will take care of you. He's the best in the business. Give him a follow, because not only is he providing a Mazda BT50 to the Bloke Club to give away in a prize, he also gives prizes away on his Instagram. He is the main man when it comes to cars in this country. He is the best in the business. It doesn't matter what state you live in. He will take care of you. So make sure to join the Blow Club, guys. We are going to get bigger and bigger. These prizes are going to get bigger and bigger. It is totally free to join. Like right now, we've got 30% off Musashi product links, 40% off DMP shirts, 20% off Grumpy Coffee right now. It is all in the Blow Club, and what we're going to do every single month, we're going to try and grow it out with more discount codes, more prizes. We just basically want to make this huge community where if you have huge numbers, you can go to large, businesses and say, we've got this huge numbers. Can you give this community a discount? And they'll go, well, if it's this many numbers, yeah, we'll give you a discount. And that's our hope with the Blow Club, is like to build it out and be able to give discounts and prizes away. But the great Dor, how you been, mate?
Good, brother. Good. I've been busy the last couple of weeks. Speaking of right down your alley, launching businesses. I've jumped in the recovery game as well. So if you're looking for a sauna or an ice bath, bro, you let me know. I know you're on that health kick in 2025.
Mate, walk us through the new gym.
Yeah, mate. I've made the decision to go independent.
Yep.
A hard decision in some respects, but I felt like it was the right path. So flipped the studio the last couple of weeks. I went through the rebranding, which is always pretty mental. Yeah, yep. Bro. I'm talking fit out, the back end systems, creating everything again. But well worth it, man. I just think I'm at the point in my life where just needed to forge my own path. I've learned so much, experienced so much, and I feel like I was just in the right position. So
what's it called?
Yeah, it's called hybrid altitude training. So it's a name and a concept that I wanted to use for a long time. Thought I might miss the boat and the opportunity. Brought back the green, the lime green. That's nice to have that back. But it's been awesome, bro. We've launched that. We launched a studio in Brunswick as well, in Victoria.
Yeah, wow.
So I'm heading down there after this, and nice. The journey begins, bro. So it's really exciting.
Wow, we got an Instagram and everything ready?
Yeah, got an Instagram. So as always, if you're out in the west in Rouse Hill, and whether you're looking for something new, you want to try altitude training, or you're into your hybrid training or looking to gain an advantage for high rocks, come and see us. We'll look after you.
There we go. What about you, Matty? How you been, mate?
I'm having a great week because my family, this isn't why I'm having a good week. My family have gone overseas, so they needed someone to look after their house and the dog. So I've moved in there, and going back to your family home is the best.
The mansion?
Because, no, it's not. It's not a mansion.
Where is it?
It's just around the corner.
Bondi.
But there is everything. Like, whenever I go shopping every week, I just get what I need to get, right? There is everything I've ever needed in this house. It's just, I absolutely, like last night, I just sat down. I was like, what do I want for dinner? And there's just steaks in the fridge. There's wines out the back. It's just, they're not even there.
Oh, how good. So you're living the dream there,
I'm living the dream. It's just me and my dog at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Mate, how good. There's nothing like when you go home, there's just this
there's nothing like it.
It's just, it really is nothing. Even though you're a trader that you split up state and his nation. I'm joking. Mate, no, I'll tell you what I found interesting. I think you represent, maybe I'm wrong here, but there is a younger generation. A lot of young people I've asked have the same opinion of you with the eligibility, that state and nation is different. They're not connected. They're not connected, which is super interesting. And so maybe we are in for a generational changing of the guard when it comes to eligibility rules. Because if the masses want it, why wouldn't you do it?
So high level?
So we're talking about eligibility yesterday. And so like me being a bit older than Matty, I don't know if it's the age that's the difference, or maybe it's a state that's different. I'm of the mind where like I can't separate state and nation. Like I feel like if you're a passionate Queenslander, then that is connected to being a passionate Australia. And so the argument that Matty was kind of saying was like, if you want to play for Queensland or New South Wales, then you should also just be able to play for whatever country you want to play. Not you want to, but your heritage is.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can't switch between sides. Matty's saying you can play for New South Wales, but if you have Tongan heritage and you choose Tonga, you can then play for Tonga. But my argument, well, not argument, but just like my point was, I would feel weird if in 15, 20 years there was a state of origin and there was no players that represented Australia in the state of origin. It would be a bit strange for me to watch that, just as a proud Australian. And so my point is that, Matty represents, at least in the comment section, very like easy majority saying Matty's 100% right. The state and the nation is different, which is super interesting to hear.
Wow.
What do you reckon? Because we're about the same age.
Yeah, I do feel like maybe it is a generational thing. It is very hard to separate the two. But where my mind goes is definitely the dilution. Like there are so many amazing players that have heritages from New Zealand, Pacific Islands.
It's honestly essentially majority.
100%. And put it this way, just my opinion, I would feel weird watching an Origin in five years' time with, let's be honest, could be 75% Kiwis.
And rightly so. Like, you know, they're good enough to play that. If you went to that rule, a lot of the guns would be Polynesian or Kiwis. And rightly, as I said, rightly so, they're guns. But it would feel a bit strange for me. However, the Matty can obviously speak for himself, but you can.
Well, I just want to clear up as well, like, that doesn't mean there has to be strict criteria. Like, you can't just get a Sonny Bill or a Sam Burgess.
Sorry, for clarity. So he was saying essentially, like, the rules now, for example, you've got to be here for until you're 13 years old, before 13, and then you would qualify as a Queensland New South Wales. You couldn't just fucking willy-nilly fly in and play for New South Wales.
But like a good example is Kieran Foran went to school with Mitchell Pearce.
Yeah.
And he went to primary school in the North Shore. So to me, I don't know why he can't play for... Like, if Jerome Luai's allowed to play, then I'm not sure why Kieran Foran's not.
Yeah, you know, that has instantly kind of shifted me a little bit. Like, if you are... That's what... That does... boost the conversation a little bit. If you grow up in Australia and you are a part of that culture, the Origin culture, and you want to honour your heritage at an international level, now I'm on the fence.
It's not that simple. Like, it's so
hard. And I just have to be honest, and it may be just smart bringing it, I'm not sure. I still would feel weird that state of origin, a lot of the players were not playing for Australia. Because I struggle to disconnect. Like, for example, I love Queensland, and the reason I love it is because I grew up there. It gave me everything I've got. It's a beautiful place. Obviously, my parents and family from there. And so intrinsically, if I love Queensland, that means I love Australia because it is inside Queensland.
Yes.
But the argument against that would be like, okay, well, if that's purely the case, then you're almost arguing for the Polynesians couldn't play for Tonga and Samoa because they didn't grow up there. So if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, whereas, like, I'm not saying that at all. I would never want to stand in the way of a Polynesian player playing for Samoa, Tonga, or Fiji or whatever. And that's what just makes it so complicated. And also, I can't speak for that feeling. Like, there's no part of me that...
Yeah, you can't relate.
I can't relate because I'm not Polynesian. Like, and also, like, I know we always joke, but, like, for example, my grandfather is half Chinese or whatever. I don't have any connection to China. Like, I don't... There's no part of me that goes, man, I would love to put on a Chinese jersey. But there are a lot of Polynesian players whose parents or grandparents, where they do feel that connection.
Yeah. And it's a very proud culture.
It's a very proud culture, whereas I can't relate. So it's hard for me to speak on that. What I can speak on is the passion I feel for Queensland, having been brought up there, you know, connected to the land, my family's from there, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. Me personally having more, like a progressive mindset, the reality is the players and their heritage and the amount of different cultures within our game now, it's not the 80s. Like, exactly. Times have changed.
Times have changed.
And to the point that Matty's making, like, maybe there is a movement that is better suited to what's the reality right now.
Well, rules were made when the demographics were way different.
Exactly right.
Way different.
Also, if they tighten the rules up, you're going to get people playing for Australia who don't even want to play for Australia. And to me, that's much, much worse.
I don't think they need to tighten them up. It's more just, it feels a little bit unfair that you can go and play for Samoa, but you can't go. But, you know, Kiwi players.
I find it crazy.
Especially, like, you know, we've spoken about the tier 1. So, you know, Samoa is a tier 2 because of the resources they have, not because of their performance on fields. But, you know, in the reality, you could ask yourself, will they ever have the same resources as Australia and New Zealand, at least in our lifetimes? Like, potentially not.
Yeah, and it'd be great to speak to a large portion of players who genuinely have grown up since day dot.
Yep.
And I'd say it'd be pretty unanimous that they are somewhat passionate about Origin. Like, they grew up in that culture.
Course,
you know what I mean? So
a perfect person to talk to would be Victor Radley. Like, he plays for England. Like, when I said Kieran Foran before, he at least was born in New Zealand and came here at a young age.
Yeah.
Victor Radley grew up in Bronte.
Well, a good one to speak to, and the perfect person to really speak to, was Josh Papali'i.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
He was a Origin legend, arguably.
Definitely.
At the very least, of his generation, one of the best. And did you ever watch him and say he didn't play with the passion deserved? And I get it, he played for Australia. But eventually he obviously moved and played for Samoa. And so, like, I don't think anyone's questioning Papali'i's commitment to the state. But as I said, that the hurdle is like, even me seeing Sonny Bill playing for Origin would be a bit weird because he's a Kiwi and I just see him as a Kiwi. But like, what's the difference when you think about it? Like, what is really the difference? Like, you know, and I know right now the difference is the priority is we want to grow the game in the Pacific Nations, and that's why we're all willing to look away a little bit. But, you know, we're getting to the point where the growth is there.
Yeah.
The growth is there.
And these guys all did play for New South Wales and Queensland all through school.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess the one thing that I do, but this is where it gets tricky though. Because so we're sitting here saying, and we all can't, we don't have personal experience as a Polynesian, so we can't really know what it feels like. But we're all sitting here basically saying, leaning towards them and saying, you know what, you can play for your heritage. Even though you didn't grow up in that place, you can play for your heritage. But here comes a tricky part. Then we go down the route of like, okay, but you're not allowed to swap. And let's say, I mean, there are a lot of kids that have a Samoan father, a Tongan, you know, mother or whatever, or it might be a Kiwi father and a Samoan mother. What if they want to play a few years for the Kiwis and then swap to Samoa, and then all of a sudden, well, you're going, well, no, you're not allowed to swap because that's a bit bush league. However, that same reason that they would wanted to play for their heritage, which is their connection to their bloodline, that is also equally important to them on the other side of their bloodline, you know? So it's
given the context of those decisions, which we all know what they are, maybe later in career, making a decision to honour that heritage, is it a case of a single swap, no return?
Like just one swap?
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. What do you, Matt? I know Matty doesn't like any.
No, I don't like swapping at all. So as the rules, Payne Haas has every right to switch. So I'm not starting with Payne Haas at all. Tino, every right. But I'd like them to eventually bring in a rule where you're allowed to, and this rule would only be in place if they can play both Origin and play for the heritage.
Yeah. So just to back what Matty's saying, he's not saying he doesn't, he's trying to like hold Haas and stay in the Australian side at all. It's more along the lines of eventually if it became possible for state is state and nation is different, that's when you can only go once. But as I said, then you get into the tough situation of like, you're asking these guys with mixed backgrounds to choose their mother or their father's heritage at a young age, that, you know, life changes a little bit.
I will contradict myself for once because I was lying in bed last night thinking about this.
For once.
For once, first time ever.
No, but there is, and I know we're speaking about Samoa, Tonga, but then it's also going to, if the rule is in place, then it's going to screw up like Lebanon, Ireland, because then Mitch Moses would never pick Lebanon, for example. Luke Keary would never pick Ireland.
But so okay, but what about later in his career, Matty, where, you know, Mitch Moses isn't making these teams and then would love an opportunity.
I think that's what he's arguing for,
though. You're saying for, That's what I'm saying. That single swap, like...
I think the argument for that could be you just keep those nations as tier 2 and you make Samoa and Tonga tier 1.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And that could kind of help it out a little bit. But, like, here's a good example, though, because, like, a lot of people try to focus, like, us Aussies always being greedy and we're the only ones that want people not to swap or whatever. But if you go back and watch... New Brown, when he swapped from Samoa to New Zealand, like he got hammered. So it's not just us that are patriotic about keeping players who don't play for us. Like it is only natural for if you've got a player that you really like that played for your country and then, you know, they end up playing for someone else. Like part of you.
I remember Josh Mansour on your podcast when he went from Lebanon to Australia.
Yeah, he got smashed by Lebanese. So it's like patriotism. It's natural. It's totally
the biggest
normal.
one that comes to mind is Carmichael.
Carmichael?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Is he not eligible for
Kiwis?
Yeah.
Oh, but he played for Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but he never played for Kiwis, I don't think.
That's what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. Yeah, when he made the decision of...
Yeah, you got me there.
And look, and I know there's probably people of Polynesian descent going, hang on a sec, like the Australian and Kiwis have stolen our players forever. And I get it. I empathise with you.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm not pretending.
We're in a different time.
Yeah, I'm not pretending like Australia hasn't sat there and gone like, you know, let's get this, you know, young guy over from the, you know, the islands and let's bring him through the system. And, you know, you look at those sides. If there was no financial pressure, I think that's the perfect world you would want to get to, is if there was no financial pressure and you were purely making a heart decision. That's the like perfect place I would like to get to. And one fix that I've had, and I've spoken about this for years, so I'm sorry for people that listen to it over and over. You lock down the season in the middle of the season for 3 to 4 weeks. It's a rep round. And so that's where you could go, if you choose to play, and this is during Origin, if you choose to play for Origin, then you're obviously playing Origin. But they have an origin for Samoa and Tonga. You know what I mean? And so they provide games for people, and then people are truly choosing with their hearts in that situation because they're getting equal amount of opportunity to play for their heritage. Now, the more I've thought about that decision, although it seems right, it could actually take away from Origin, which we don't want to do because it generates so much revenue. And I don't mind Origin being a bit weaker, and if players go, no, I just want to play for Samoa, that's totally fine. I just more mean we don't want to wreck a huge money maker at the moment. So I don't know what the answer is there with all that.
Oh yeah, I don't love that idea purely because then they would have to make a choice. And I want paying us to play both.
So the reason why I bring it forward is like then you remove because right now there is a money pressure.
Yeah.
For players.
You can't deny it.
You can't deny it.
There's no point.
And to be fair, it's probably going to go up for Origin. Yeah. I think they're pushing for it.
And it probably should go up because it generates so much money. But I'm sure there are a lot of Kiwis that if you said to them, like, let's say just Origin didn't exist tomorrow, I think there are a lot of players that chose to play for New South Wales and Queensland because they didn't want to miss out on Origin. But if you gave them opportunity to play for Australia or New Zealand, they would have chosen New Zealand, but they didn't because they didn't want to miss out on Origin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it just, that's the truth, man. Like you're lying to yourself if you don't believe that there have been quite a lot of players who have had a stronger connection to New Zealand, but have looked at their families and said, what's better for my family? And yes, it has changed quite a bit. Yes, we've tried to make international payments a little bit more even, but for a very long time, if you were trying to do the right thing by your family, you should play Origin because you're going to make it. But also,
it can be like the money is 100% factual, but who doesn't want to play an Origin game?
It's hectic.
Like, bro.
And it's better for your career too. It all trickles down.
No rugby league player doesn't want to play an Origin game.
But even like, for sure, I'm with you there. But even it's not just a match payment. If you play Origin, your contract value goes up a millionfold. I mean, how often do we always talk about Kiwi players that don't get put in the greatest ever chat because they didn't get to play in the Origin arena?
Yeah.
And so, the flip side argument is you don't want to make New South, like, it's called state versus state. And yes, it does have most of the best players, but you don't want to just make it an all-star game. So where do you find the balance of it still keeps its state versus state, mate versus mate? Because that's what makes us great, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people try to say it's the standard rugby league, and I think to a degree it is, but I think it's the history that makes it special, and you don't want to lose that.
It's good discussion, man, and probably the better discussion that we've ever had about the topic because it's very, very understanding. You can see both sides. I just think we're in a very different era, different space. The generations are different. It's very multicultural, but I am not opposed with the right rules in place that we've discussed to honouring what you've been brought up on, and then also honouring your heritage at an international level. It wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, see, I'd still, I could sit here and lie if I wanted to. It'd still be weird for me to watch an Origin game, and then at the end of the year, it's literally no Origin players in that Australian side. It would be very, very bizarre to me. And not in an angry way or a negative way or anything. It'd just be weird as, like, I'd try to get my head around that. Because as I said, I just can't separate Queensland and Australia. Like, for example, the reasons I love Queensland is because of I was brought up there, raised there, my family lived there. Queensland is inside Australia. How can you separate the two? For me, anyway.
It's so funny because, like, I just don't think of Australia at all when I think of Origin. Yeah. It couldn't be more different for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. And as I said, that's what this conversation all started from was I think there is strong evidence that the younger generation, and maybe it's not the younger generation, maybe I'm just
No, I think that's fair because the multicultural diversity that we're talking about is this newer generation. So I think it's fair.
And so they separate the two. Because it was overwhelmingly towards Matty in the comments section. Not even overwhelming. It was just like 100% Matty.
Back in the day, bro, we're not even talking about, I'll be honest, like a Tongan or Samoan team or the international game. It's not even a conversation.
No, it really wasn't. Like, and also back then, I just had the mindset, and maybe this was lack of education or lack of proximity to Polynesian players and everything. I just thought that if you're born in Australia, you considered yourself Aussie and you loved Australia. Like, you might have heritage, but Australia is just like number one to you. But it's much more nuanced and clearly much more nuanced and complicated than that. Like that's a very antiquated view on the situation because, let's say you're born. Let's say, and I'm I'm just trying to put myself in a Polynesian bloke's perspective. But like, if I was born in Australia, I could understand loving Australia. But then when I look at my mum and the culture that she brought me up in, and let's say it was a Samoan heritage, we went and did all the cultural things that Samoan people do. So you have the physical location you are currently located in Australia, but the culture you grew up in, your family's home was Samoan. Of course, you're going to feel a connection to where you were from. It's almost like if you grew up in Australia, but you spoke a different language in the house, you're going to speak that language and feel more fluent in that, even though you grew up in a majority English-speaking country.
Yeah. I do feel for the players as well. Like someone come to mind, we grew up with like the Petros and all that sort of stuff. But bro, there wasn't this hard choice to make.
No pressure.
And
that we know of anyway. We could have been ignorant to it maybe. Yeah. Maybe we're ignorant to it.
But honouring their heritage, which is very important, and at that level, like these teams and these developing nations have now, that wasn't a thing back in the day. So this decision was very simple. Whereas now it's hard.
Maybe it was and we just didn't hear about it.
Well, I guess the opportunity to represent your country, and like if you're a part of that Tongan team now, that's so hard to turn away from. You're a genuine chance, an amazing team, players you look up to. You want to be a part of that, Whereas I just don't think that opportunity was there back in the day.
It just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. And as I said, maybe the pressure was there. We just never heard about it because we're not in those circles.
Yeah.
And also you have to be fair and understanding that like societal norms have changed
100%.
over the last 20 to 40 years. So like the mindset of an immigrant 50 years ago was like almost like when you come to this country, and I'm speaking from a perspective of knowing my wife who's Filipino, her parents migrated to this country. So when they migrated, the mindset was we are going to assimilate. Like we are so grateful to be here. It's a better life. In our way to say thank you, and I'm not speaking for every immigrant, I'm just speaking for them experience, was almost like we want our children to speak English so they fit in, so that they're a part of the culture of Australia. That's not the mindset anymore. The mindset is, yes, I am appreciative of Australia. However, my culture is still going to be a strong part of me. And that's coming from me, who is a very proud Australian, but my son is clearly, my son is half Filipino.
Clearly.
And so I want him to know his history.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas if I still had the same mindset of 50 years ago, I would be saying, mate, you're an Australian, you live in Australia, you're only going to know the Australian history. But I don't think that's fair. I think it's, mate, you got to know where you come from. You got to know, what your grandparents did, what your great-grandparents did.
But it's silly to pretend that times haven't changed.
The mindsets have changed. You're kidding it. You are lying to yourself if you don't think the migrant's mindset has changed. For better or worse, whatever your opinion on that is, it used to be come here, assimilate, almost in detriment to their cultural things they used to have back at home. Now it's quite a lot different, which I like that it's different, that we get all these different cultures. I married a Filipino, like multicultural as you can get, but it was a different mindset. So, yeah, it is such an interesting topic. Like, whatever the answer is, someone's going to be pissed off about it. We do know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as I said, I've always, regardless of my own personal preferences, I've always said, whatever is best for the game, that's what I'll do. My personal opinion is irrelevant. I just want to do what's best for the game. That's it.
Kind of like going off topic, but being on the same topic. We wouldn't be talking about this, and this is going to go, like Jason Taumalolo has won a Dally M, won a comp, but in 100 years when people are talking about Jason Taumalolo, we're going to remember him like how we remember Arthur Beats at Forage, and he's the reason that all of this changed. And it's just great. Like, he's still playing, but it's just mind-blowing what he did 10 years ago. Yeah. And I think it's equally, not many people talk about this, it's equally as mind-blowing as a week later Andrew Fafita, he did the same thing.
Yep.
He followed Taumalolo, but he gave up his 30 grand a game for Origin as well. What those two guys did, and then obviously everyone followed, was game-changing.
Yeah. And like, look at the positive impact that's had on international rugby league since. So, yeah, mate, it's an interesting topic, but I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, you could argue they've basically got it right now. The only difference would be you make Tonga and Samoa. Sorry, you basically make it so that state and nation, like international, is different. But just a clear point in that is something that you brought up. The clear point is it doesn't mean that you can just fly in and play for Queensland.
Oh, yeah, no.
You still have to clear you still have to be here since you were 13 years old. Yeah, you still have to be brought up in the state or each state or whatever. All right, don't forget to give me a follow on the feed. Got a bunch of multis on my Sportsbet feed. Girify. Also, now doing the NRL preview with Sportsbet, me and Sugar. I think it drops every Thursday. Might drop every Wednesday coming from next week. So make sure to tune in on that on the NRL website. We always put our bets up. But give us a follow on the Sportsbet feed, guys. It's I got a bunch of multis, super easy to copy. And also it shows Sportsbet what the bloke community is all about. All right, the Sharkies get defeated by the Raiders 24-20. What an incredible match winner from the Raiders. 10 in the bin. Hudson Young goes off. The footy gods are sitting up there laughing, going, you know what? The new crackdown, we're going to do it on Ricky Stewart first. And so they're just going, and Ricky Stewart's probably sitting there going, you know what? He called the Raiders CEO and said, listen, just take 20K out of my salary right now because I'm about to fucking flip it.
If they lost, it would have been a cracker post-game
It would have
interview.
been an unbelievable... I'm almost Devo. that we didn't
The
get
conference was still pretty good, but it would have been great
it's
if
like
they
you
lost.
replaced the blow-up for the dancing on the sideline after the try.
Mate, it would have been phenomenal. Phenomenal.
What about what he said after the game? He's like, yep, 7-2 penalty count. Yeah, I don't mind that we gave 7 penalties away. But that doesn't mean every other team's clean. It's just so good.
It's so good. And the game is on the line. And they just play hot potato. And yes, the try was, incredible. And it was Seb Chris's incredible work to get from the other side of the field. And then you got Xavier Savage running in from his side of the field to put the kick in. It was amazing all around. But just the Raiders' ability to hang in that game. Just hang in. And then when an opportunity arises, Hudson Young again.
Mate, he's a game breaker.
Mate, every time they need something, he does something. Like, it is just incredible. The amount of times the Raiders have needed a big play, he just nails it every single time. Like, and it wasn't just a nothing play. It was a straight line break. Then Nico somehow gets him to the ground in a covering tackle. So he breaks the line. Nico does a covering tackle, somehow gets him to the ground. Then he pops back up. The other boys can't help him to get him down. They get the offload, and then the rest is history. And once again, Hudson Young, and, when you talk about depth in this New South Wales side, like, I feel like there are 10 back rowers that definitely need to be in the side. Like, you'll be a friggin' 17 back rowers soon. You're all playing that well.
It's funny. Like, I always think about my teams all the time, what my 17 is going to be. And Hudson Young at the moment, just with who's there, he's probably not in it. But then every time I watch him, I'm like, he has to be there. He has to be there.
Yeah, so it's just like you could argue this is the best start to a season he's ever had. And he's such a weapon. He's only 26.
Yeah?
He's 26.
Wow.
Like, he's been doing this for years now.
Yeah.
Absolute years. And it's typical of a lot of these Raiders boys. Like, Tarpanet is a Dally M level front rower. 100%. Hudson Young is a Dally M level back rower. I know he hasn't won a Dally M yet, but he is a Dally M level back rower. And I just think that, like, you genuinely might be carrying at least 3 edge back rowers on your bench. That's how good they're all playing. Like, if you rolled in with a bench of Connor Watson, Ola Kawatu, Jacob Preston, and Young, I wouldn't be mad at you.
And
No way.
Colin Matangi's not even on the team.
Yeah, I didn't even say Keon. You could put Keon in there as well. But I wouldn't be... That's how strong the depth is for New South Wales. And Hudson Young, once again, does it. Refuses to say die. Think about... So he had the dramas over in Vegas. He comes out, totally repays Ricky Stewart with an incredible performance. I mean, it was his kick chase that essentially broke open the game and ended it for the Warriors, where he kick chase, Chance drops it, they score. You see after the game, he just goes up in just absolute ecstasy because you can see how much pressure's on him. Then, McInnes or whoever slipped into the tackle, head high, he gets 10 in the bin, which I get. It was a crackdown. Probably was 10 in the bin. It's a crackdown. He comes back on and says, boys, I'm going to make sure I make up for that. And does he ever?
I love that shit.
It's incredible. And he does it all the time. Hey, are we forgetting the fact that he'd already scored 2 tries on top of that?
Yeah, ridiculous.
Like, what are we talking about here? He is a freak. He is a freak of nature.
Yeah,
Supplements.
he's a
Shout out
game
Young
breaker.
Supplements too. Get me on the Young Supplement. Hey, what's he on? Creo, you reckon? Went off the field and bloody had a dunk of Creo. Jesus Christ.
He's also pretty fast.
Yeah, mate, he's a gun.
That try that when Starling put that kick in, he was lightning.
He gassed him. He absolutely gassed him.
He's always got that in him, doesn't he? But to your point, Kemi, a consistent Hudson Young week in, week out, he is actually one of the best in the game.
Tell me a back rower that has as many match winners as Hudson Young. I'll wait. I will wait. Like Olakau'atu is a game breaker, and he's had big moments, and he has a regular big moments, and you could argue that he's ahead of Hudson Young potentially for the Blues jersey, but maybe not. But I can tell you right now, there's no other edge back rower that's had as many match winners as Hudson Young, in my opinion.
And like match winners aside, even just tries. Like if I'm betting on any back rower to score, Hudson Young is by far and away number one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like this guy is, and this is, I'm not taking away anything from any of the other back rowers. It's me giving all of them a compliment. Olakau'atu, freak of nature. Hudson Young, freak. Jacob Preston, freak. Keon, freak. Like Liam Martin, freak. And what I love so much about Liam Martin is out of all those boys we mentioned, you could argue he's the least, he's naturally imposing or whatever, and yet he's the number one back rower just because of his intangibles that he brings.
Yeah.
Angus Crichton is there as well. It's just, Hutto, he's a special talent. 26.
And arguably, back to the match winners and tries, like I almost feel he does have a skill set that others don't have. So he does offer something unique, but he's just always there, always showing up, always threatening.
Yeah, and yes, he did get an opportunity to play for the Blues, but like, you got to give him longer than 20 minutes. Like,
I'd like to see another crack.
Yeah,
I remember last year when he got dropped. The first time he got dropped is because he didn't play the best in game.
He gave away a couple of penalties.
Yeah, because he was too excited. But I remember last year when he got dropped, everyone was like, it's just unlucky. We just need to get someone else in.
Yeah.
So
it's also not easy to just come on in a little spurt of the game and just hope that everything goes well and you get your chance again. Like there's a big chance that it won't, and then that's kind of it.
Especially as an edge back rower.
Yeah.
Like, if you're coming on as a front rower, your job is just to fucking have a 20 minutes of absolute mania.
Yeah,
whereas edge back rower, you got to make sure you keep your shape. You got to make sure your defense is on point. Immediately get the rhythms of the game.
Yeah, and if you get unlucky and that 20-minute patch isn't great, you're on the chopping board.
You get on for 20 minutes and you're defending the line for 20 minutes and you let in a try. Like usually, if you're on for 80 minutes and you let in a try, it's like, okay, your edge back rower, it's bound to happen. 20 minutes, you just get unlucky.
Yeah. Bench back rower, it's a risky one to come on and have an impact.
So what an incredible, and like Xavier Savage, didn't have the best night, but that's the confidence that Ricky Stewart has instilled in this team. And this is like, I feel like the fact that he went into bat for KO Weeks on the weekend, I don't think KO Weeks makes that offload if Ricky Stewart doesn't defend him publicly.
Yeah, I love that.
I just don't think he does, because he still struggled under the high ball KO Weeks last night. But I don't think he has the confidence to throw that ball if his coach doesn't back him in. And that's what Ricky Stewart does really well. If you're in with him, he will protect you. Like, he will literally punch on for you probably. Like, that's how much he loves his players. And I just think it shows you the maturity of Ricky Stewart's coaching. He would, I'm sure he said it with KO Weeks. He was very positive. He's backing him in. But I'm sure privately he pulled KO Weeks aside and said, listen, mate, this is not good enough. Like, you need to be better than this last week. I'm assuming anyway. But the fact that he publicly backed him like that, that's what you get. You get moments where the game was on the line and KO Weeks still has the confidence to throw that ball. Whereas if he's confident he's rattled, he's not going to throw the ball. Yeah. He's going to be too scared to throw it.
I agree, and I love the experience and maturity. Ricky knows where he's at, what he's got with that team. And if you're not willing to nurture or go into bat with the young players who, let's be honest, aren't going to give you 100% all of the time, I love to see it. And the fact that, as we know, we don't understand the conversations that go on in the inner sanctum, but the fact that he's backing these young players, instilling that confidence, not only to take risks, but to be able to nurture them through games week in, week out in the NRL, like, I think it's going to pay off, and it is in some respects paying off. I love watching the Raiders.
Everyone loves it, and like, they're overachieving so much. Like,
they really are.
They're such a bloody good team to watch. So incredible win from the Raiders. I thought they had a really good game plan. Especially they didn't win most of the field position, at least in the second half. It looked like the Sharks were dominating quite a bit. Good game plan, back and forth battle. It was just pure effort. Sebastian Chris just said, I'm not giving up on the play. And everyone else around me, you might think it's over. It's not over. And boom.
He's so important for that team, bro.
He's so good. So good. He wouldn't be breaking the bank either. He'd be on minimum pretty much, or close to. What do you reckon?
Underrated.
250, 300 probably he's on, Sebastian Chris?
Yeah.
Well, the thing, people they look at the average salary of a player. They go, I think it's like 400K or whatever, the average. But people don't understand, salary caps are always top heavy. So a lot of the money is spent on a few players, and then they just basically, if you're not, one of those players, you're on lower amount. It's not spread out evenly. Salary caps don't work like that.
I suppose also if that contract was developed a couple of years ago, then that's 100% right.
And so what a performance, and it just what the Raiders needed. It really was just what the Raiders needed. Now onto the Sharkies. The thing that would make me the most frustrated if I was Fitzgibbon, and I think the thing that would frustrate Fitzgibbon the most, is if you get beaten on they were just better than you, they had the field position, they played really well. Like, for example, the Dogs came out and just ambushed them the week before, and the Dogs played outstanding, and sometimes that can just happen. The last thing you want to see is the last play of the game and your players aren't desperate to get across and defend. And I think Fitzy's going to be filthy at that. He's usually a pretty calm coach. And look, maybe he's not. Maybe I'm just making shit up. But I reckon he's going to look at that and show them in the video session, and he's going to show where Sebastian Chris started, and he's going to point to all the boys around him and go, boys, if there's one thing we never get beaten on, it should be effort. And I think that this needs to be a wake-up call for the Sharks side, because I watched that side, and I think they're getting a bit too comfortable in the fact that they know they're a good side. I think they actually, because they are. I think they know they're a bloody good side. I think that they're being a bit too comfortable thinking, you know what, we're just going to be there in finals footy because we are a good footy side. And put it this way, I always say this, when I see situations like that, I always ask, if it was a grand final, would have you not chased? They would have chased. They would have chased. And I think it needs to be a wake-up call for the Sharkies. They're still playing good footy, decent footy. Like, yes, we can get to the X's and O's and how they had all that ball down their Raiders' end and they couldn't finish it. We will talk about that. But they still play decent footy. But they need to take that next step. And I hope it's a wake-up call of the game yesterday.
I'm just seeing a team that's lost. I look at the Sharks and I'm trying to understand, like, strategically, what are they doing? What are they playing towards? Even at one point, I look out onto the right and you got Hines, Nakora, Ramey, and I'm just like, what are we doing? I just don't see, we sat here last week and looked at Souths and Cody Walker as an example, just relentless shape. The second row is always charging on the inside shoulder. They've always got something out the back. And eventually something cracks. I just don't see that at all from the Sharks. I don't know. I look at the 6, 7 and 1 and I wonder, it's always an ongoing conversation. I wonder, what's the responsibility? What's the best role for Nico? Is Trindle playing to his best skill set? Will Kennedy's a ball-running fullback? I don't think shape is his absolute strongest point. And I just feel like they're just a little bit lost.
Mate, I'm with you. I think that they've tried really hard to spread the responsibility between Trindle and Hines. Unfortunately, Trindle, it's his second game. He's been quite poor. Unfortunately, Hines his kicking game wasn't great yesterday. And I just think that when the Sharks were best in attack is when Moylan played second fiddle to Hines and basically just said, mate, whatever you want, I'll just create that platform for you and you go and do it. And I just look at Trindle and Hines and they were a man up. There was 10 in the bin, Hudson Young. And Hudson Young is on the left side, isn't he? He's the left side.
He's on Canberra's left, yeah.
Yeah, so Canberra's left. So he's on Hines' side.
Yeah.
And they spend 10 minutes going to Canberra's right on Trindle. So that Trindle Brayley just kept feeding Trindle the ball. And then Trindle had an opportunity to pass and they score, just a tip on. And he gets caught with the ball on fifth. And I just look at that and I go, they just seem confused as to who is supposed to step up in the key moment of the game and get the job done in good ball. And so I just think that I understand what Fitzy's trying to do. He's trying to make it so that you don't want to be a one-trick pony. And what I mean by that is if you go and say, Hines, it's your team, then if you're the opposition, you go, we just need to shut down Hines and we win the game. I get that. I really do. But at the moment, it just seems like they're both kind of unsure as to who's supposed to be the man pulling the trigger in the key moments to win that match. And so whether it's Trindle steps forward and when we get in good ball, Trindle, it's your responsibility to get us points, or when you get in good ball, it's Hines' responsibility to get the points. But I think they need to work it out quickly because otherwise they're just going to keep dropping games.
Name a successful team, Kemper, who hasn't acknowledged those primary roles.
The main man.
Penrith, Storm.
Yeah.
I don't know. anyway, Manly Roosters, like, you know, you have to have that primary dominant half, and the 6 plays a secondary role. And that secondary role is by no means out of the game, but I see it. I see them looking at each other. I see them talking to each other. I see them trying to decipher who's going where. Hines is running across the field trying to get involved in different positions. And I just, knowing Nico personally, I just think it's best suited to have him have clarity on his direction, the weight of the world on your shoulders, trying to figure out where you should be, what you should be doing. I just don't think it's best suited to that team. And again, if you have an edge with those guys who are on the right side and Nakora playing the way he is, just keep hammering and hammering and relentlessly.
Yeah, look.
The kicking game's a sticking point as well. I think it's so important in the game if you don't have that, bro.
And I just think the kicking game is not on the same level. Like Fogarty was a substantially better kicker.
I'm watching the game and I take away, I love Fogarty, I love what he does, but I finish the game and go, geez, he kicked well. It's so important.
And also, like, I love Fogarty, but he's not a top tier 7, but he's still delivering top tier kicking games. So there's at least one part of his game that's top tier. And
you know that point you made, bro, about the sin bin? I was watching on KO, listening to Cooper Cronk, and I thought in my mind, knowing everything I've seen from Cooper Cronk, bro, at the moment that happens, do you know how relentlessly they are going to attack that spot at the Storm? Like, just non-stop.
And that's why I couldn't understand why they kept going left to Trindle. They're just going like, what's happening here? Trindle sweep around, pair up with Hines, and just go straight at that edge that Young would have been on. And then, like, they did do that, and then Kennedy drops the ball, and then Stone Street's dropping the ball. And so it's not just the spine too. Like, that's the one thing that the Sharks have been guilty of for a few years. In key moments, they just have these brain explosions. Like, just, you know, instead of just building pressure, roll the ball in, get a drop out or whatever. Yeah, and Trindle getting caught on the 5th instead of passing that ball. Like, because if he passes, they score. Yeah. They score, game over.
Yeah.
So they just, this half situation, you know, they just got to find, I believe, I've always been a big believer. And I understand the idea of, like, so last year they were heading into finals. And they basically, Hines was clearly not at his best last year. Towards the finals, he actually started the year really, really well.
Yeah, he was coming back from a broken leg as well.
Yeah. So, like, there's reasons for it, but he wasn't at his best. No. So what did they do? They said, Hines, take a back seat. Trindle, it's your team. And I think we could all understand why. Hines isn't in form. He's coming back from injury. And it worked. They got deeper into the finals. But they're both fit now. And so I just think they need to decide who's the big dog, who's the main man, who is, whenever, like, who's the Mitchell Moses, who's the Nathan Cleary. If it's Trindle, go all in on that. If it's Hines, go all in that. I tend to lean towards giving the big dog mantle to Hines. I think that if they are to win a premiership, it's going to be with Hines playing good footy. Now, don't get me wrong, Hines has to play good footy, but I think Trindle can play a really good supplementary running role to Hines. But just let Hines take over everything, run everything, because that's when he won his Dally M.
Yeah. And the extension to that is, Kempy, like, you know, what's gone on in the last 3 to 4 months of preseason, if there isn't that clarity. Like, let's make the decision, but let's also then build a strategy around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think also, like, if you go, okay, it's Hines' team, it's 100% Hines' team, then it's very clear we can come in here on Monday and go, Hines played well or he didn't. You know, whereas right now it's this weird, like, they both didn't really step up when they needed to. It's this weird kind of balancing act. What do you reckon, Matty?
Confusion is reflected in their game, yeah, 100%.
Well, even before, like, we were in here before and, like, we were disagreeing at, like, who was worse, who was better, because there's just like, we just don't really know.
Well, so for example, you got Hines. Oh, sorry, mate, you go.
No. You go.
I was going to say, like, for example, Hines has a 7 on his back. So what's a 7's job? To get field position and lead the boys out of their own red zone. That's usually the 7's role.
Yeah.
And the Sharks did that. They had all the field position and they had all the good ball. And it's usually the 6's job. This is when Cody Walker takes over from Adam Reynolds and creates opportunities and points in the good ball. And usually that's the 6's job. But Trindle, with the Sharks, we all don't really know. Is that the case? Because by that metric, if the metric is the 7 gets you field position and the 6 is supposed to score you points, by that metric, Hines was okay last night because they did have field position. But I don't think we could all sit here and say the halves were okay last night. We're not going to pretend that. They needed to ice that game. What
well, we saw it a couple of years ago when we were having this same conversation about Keary and Sam Walker. And then, boom, Anzac Day, they decided it was Sam Walker's team and their season changed.
And they've never looked back.
They've literally never looked back. So I think as well, to your point before, like, would Storm or Panthers ever do this? Jerome Luai could be one of the best halfbacks in the NRL. He took a backseat to Cleary. They won 4 comps. He's even taken a backseat to Galvin at the moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good they are. They just got to be able to figure it out.
And also, it doesn't matter how much money they're on either. Like, the Luai's on 1.2, but he's taking a backseat to a dude that's currently on 200K or 300K. It's whatever best for the team, in my opinion. And so I just think they needed a bit of clarity around that. I really do. And whether you need to put the 6 jersey on Hines' back, and then you just go...
Yeah, another thought.
And you just go, you know what, Nico? Don't worry about leading the boys around. It's all... And so... Because as I said, at the moment...
I personally think that would be...
You just put the 6 on his back and you just go, okay, Braden, Trindle, it's your job to get the boys in good ball. As soon as you get in good ball, Hines, call the shots where you want it.
I don't care what people think. If you don't think that jersey impacts the mindset of a player in a game, and I think... I understand the Daily M kind of throws you off a little bit because that year, but knowing Nico Hines, what he can do and his ability, the 6 jersey is a good fit for him.
On that point as well, go back before the Daly M year when he was at Melbourne and he had that great half a season when Paps was out and he played fullback. Now fullback and 6 similar,
100%,
and he killed it there. So I personally think.
Well, I think you actually take pressure off Hines if that happens.
Yes, that's the thing. The responsibility is the problem.
The 7 is the whole. Because what happens is, because he has a 7 jersey on the situation, like Matty will come in and say, geez, Hines needed to win that game for him. And then I can have the argument to Matty and say, well, hang on a sec, what's the 7's role? The 7's role is to get field position. And they did have field position yesterday. They actually dominated the Raiders for most of the game. But that's not really what's happened at the Raiders. It's this weird, and so I just go, if you chuck him in the 6 jersey, then we're not sitting here every Monday going, nah, Hines didn't lead the boys around. We can just go, did he have a try assist? If he finished the game with 100 running meters and a couple of try assists, boom, that's all we need from you, Hines. So that's where I go, you're actually probably going to put less pressure on Hines.
100%, bro.
And also, if you put the 7 on Trindle's back, because he's not on $1 million, and also, let's be real here. Yes, it is fair to be critical of Hines. I'm not saying it isn't. But there is a large portion of the criticism is because he's Nico Hines with a huge profile. That's the reality. Whereas if you look at some of these other players with a smaller profile that are still on $1 million that aren't playing as well, for example, there are plenty of other players that are on $1 million right now that aren't playing that well, that don't get anywhere near the criticism Hines does. Whereas because Trindle, he'd be on a smaller contract, he's got a smaller profile, so you're actually less pressure on him because he's not Nico Hines in the 7 jersey.
Yeah.
And so people would be more accepting of a quiet game from Trindle because he's not Nico Hines.
Yeah, and I also think it's situational. To your point with Trindle, if the responsibilities were just the tangibles for a halfback, that is far more better suited to a young player who has a very simplified role. If you place those tangible halfback things that we need from you in the game, it's taken away from Nico's natural instincts and his strengths. So, it just makes sense.
I just reckon, I was a bit it doesn't matter probably for the first few weeks. And, and so I'm happy. So if someone says, oh, Kempy, you said this a few weeks ago, fair enough. Happy to say I've got it wrong. But I think right now, you chuck the 6 on Nico's back, it eases 1,000,000 times pressure.
Yeah. That game was a real highlight for this conversation for me.
Definitely.
That game just showed me that there needs to be clarity. And if you go to Hines and you say you're the 6 now, mate, which means we just need you as attacking weapons. So get in good ball, make it happen. And he still had some good moments, some good short side plays on the weekend. He really did last night. But it's so unclear as to who is supposed to be the main man. And I've just never seen a system work where you don't have a big dog in the spine calling the shots. Even the Dragons have a big dog. Guess who the big dog is? Gutho at the back. He's the big dog in that spine that's probably calling the shots. So really, really disappointing for the Sharkies. And as I said, it's not the loss that's the wake-up call for the Sharkies. I think it's going to be the video session looking at the players that switched off when the game was on the line. I think Fitz is going to kill him. I think it's going to frustrate him beyond belief. Watching his players switch off like that. And players who are notoriously not the Sharkies, they actually built their game not like that. They're actually tough, hard workers. I'll give Will Kennedy raps. He actually was one of the few players that, and Hazelton to a degree, in that last play, but definitely Kennedy. Kennedy was he was a part of the Hudson Young tackle essentially and got all the way to the other side.
He tries hard.
And he's had a relatively good start to the season, Kennedy. He really has. So we'll see. We'll see.
But they shouldn't have lost that game. There's 100 reasons why they shouldn't have lost that game, and they did.
I wanted to put something to you, Canberra. I was thinking about this when I was watching. I've always thought it's interesting how Canberra have this knack for bringing over a good Englishman. And watching that Nicholson, I was like, geez, he was good. What's your thoughts on, and this is just to frame it up, don't want to downplay the Super League, and especially with the Anzac clash, don't want to downplay the English rugby league players. But with the expansion, is there a sort of movement, and would it be accepted where, again, referencing like what goes on now at, say, Q Cup or reserve grade, is there a direction where the Super League becomes this feeding ground for the NRL? Again, not to downplay the Super League and the English players, but is there a point with the expansion? I only see it getting harder with, finding that volume of players, but is there an opportunity where it's kind of an accepted thing where the Super League breeds players to come and play in the NRL? The
problem is you just financially, the game would just die then, because like who wants to go and watch a league that's just a feeder club for the NRL? It just doesn't become important. You're basically calling it the New South Wales Cup of NRL. But I mean, Raiders' ability, their knack to find an Englishman is unbelievable because he's a gun.
Isn't he?
He's a gun. Serious gun. Don't forget, guys, Menulog, Jake Preston is our hungriest player this week. Use code Preston, PRESTON, for free delivery. Minimum spend is $30. And don't forget as well, Good Day, Daylights, they are releasing Daylights this Sunday. You can also use code DMP for 10% off that as well. And as usual, you can use DMP and for 10% off Good Day and 20% off paired with the subscription. So, guys, brand new product, Daylights, hydration coming from the boys over at Hello Sport at begoodhealth.com.au. This starts this Sunday. And as I always, guys, don't forget, grab some Grumpy Coffee from grumpycoffee.com.au, a beautiful coffee. It's just, the amount of feedback we are getting for this coffee, guys, you cannot imagine how good this tastes. It is a beautiful, especially the everyday. The everyday is my favorite, but we are getting 5 stars all around with the reviews, guys, and we've got some really, really fun content coming out very, very soon. So make sure to grab some Grumpy Coffee. If you're on the fence about it, order some. It'll be here in the next day or two. You will not be disappointed. Okay, South versus Roosters. Talking points. What do you reckon? Charlie Mitt's back. What do you reckon?
I'm on the bandwagon with South. So I can't wait for this game. I am disappointed that we're not going to see that matchup with Latrell and Matty. Give me the
Mark and Nwanganaitawaze.
Thank you.
To be fair, Nwanganaitawaze would have been on the other side. He would have been up against Jackie White.
True.
But still. It's disappointing. Well, I'm not disappointed. I'm stoked. But it's disappointing for the game that Mark's not playing.
It's always a great rivalry. But, I'm keen to watch it. But I'm excited to see Latrell back.
There's so much.
Excited to watch South play.
I love that no matter. It's round 5, right? Exactly right. Like everyone's written off South being included when those two guys went down. But how funny is it? Like no matter when or where it is, there's always just articles. Like Blake Solly's out here trashing the Roosters about saying, why do the Roosters know about our deal with venues New South Wales? Like all this shit comes out during the week. It's just pure theatre. I absolutely love it.
It's the best. It's actually the best. It all just tends to line up around a clash. There's some kind of drama. Absolute best. I just can't wait to see Charlie Mitt back. I cannot 100%. Wait. And you can watch that on KO. A reminder, you can watch every game of every round this NRL Premiership season live with no ad breaks during play on KO Sports. Don't miss all the action on KO Sports. The best in the business, guys. Plus, they got a bunch of other content. It is, you could sit there for days watching the content on KO. It's the friggin' best.
I'm putting the house on anytime try scorer.
Oh, absolutely. What's the algo looking like, boys?
Oh, the old algo. I did get a fair few bites on the Great Pyramids. A lot of interest.
Okay, you got some bites.
A lot of interest.
Unfortunately, mate, I think it's all...
Did you do some research?
Yeah, I've done some research, mate. I was actually going to send you the video that debunks it all. And I
appreciate that. You didn't want to...
I didn't want to ruin the day.
Let me go. I appreciate that.
Let you go. Unfortunately, mate, it's all a bit of fucking...
I actually got caught in embarrassingly, which is strange for me because I feel like I'm pretty onto it on the social media. But you know the lad who was doing he's gone viral for the morning routine with the water?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, it was very, very close. So it was very soon. Anyway, a couple of friends in the US were doing these random videos and like a couple of girls in particular, morning routine and going, and I'm like, how the hell did you do that? And just, I've dropped comments and everything. And of course, I'm the idiot. They were just ripping off the morning routine viral video.
So you're the boomer. You're the old dude. You're the old dude,
Mate,
bro.
I'm not going to lie and be honest. If you felt the same, these examples are starting to get real consistent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
I'm around a lot of, in the gym, I'm around a lot of the young ones, and whether it's music or stuff they're talking about, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. And I'm off it, to be honest.
You're off it? Wow, see, that's going a step too far. I promised myself I'll never get off it. I never want to be an old dude going, what's this music you listen to?
No, not like that. I'm off it, I don't know.
Oh, you're off the, you
I'm
don't know.
filthy. Because I'm having to accept that, wow.
Okay, you're getting old.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's all happening. It's all happening. What's your Argo looking like, Matty?
Very, very different. South Park finally released it. They're dropping a new season. I've been waiting for, like, seriously, the last 2 seasons have been like 6 episodes each. Like, since COVID, it just hasn't been the same. But back to business this week. This year. I think it comes out in June. But since it came out, to be fair, the trailer came out a few weeks ago. But it's all I've been watching now.
South Park.
It's still
Speaking of nostalgia, Happy Gilmore 2.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me you're not frothing to see that.
I cannot wait. I love they're just dropping it on Netflix too.
How good.
Yeah. Happy Gilmore 1 is definitely going to get a run around the globe a week before that comes out.
I think we all remember the first time where we were when we watched Happy Gilmore 1.
Yes.
Like, I
Where were you?
Mate, I was obviously in my home, but like, it had so much, it was so fun. I couldn't believe how funny it was. Like, the first time I saw Happy Gilmore, I seriously remember thinking, I cannot believe how funny this is.
Comedy and movies were different then.
They were
they're not the same.
better.
They're not the same.
You can't do anything in these
No.
days.
That's the big part of it, eh?
And you know what the worst thing is? Everyone's like, oh, the other side gets upset about everything. No, both sides get upset about everything now. Like, everyone gets upset about everything.
Can't win.
You can't win. It's like, if something offends you, who gives a shit? Like, just move on. Like, I never understood that mindset. I do think there's a quiet majority that think like that. But like, both sides are bad as each other on the internet now.
Do you have high hopes, or are you going into this with a Gladiator 2 mindset?
A Gladiator. Oh.
No, I'll tell you what the saving grace is. Adam Sandler's in the movie.
But I just don't think they're going to be as edgy as they can. I think
it'll never be the same.
The problem is you can't do it the same as one, because that comedy ages quickly. And I just don't know whether he's willing. Like, the only way it's going to be hectic is if he goes and makes it hectic this time. Like, the thing that frustrates me with number 2s of movies from 20 years ago is they make it for the same age as you were 20 years ago. But the people that watch Adam Sandler, we're all like 35 plus now. So make mature comedy. Like, don't make it don't worry about...
New audience, speak to us.
Yeah, don't make it for 16-year-olds and be like, oh, we can't swear, we can't do this. Make it for purely adults that are 35 older, that understand it's a joke. Go edgy, go as far as you can go, but they won't do that.
Yeah, and we're the ones that are going to. Oh well, it's on Netflix, but I was going to say we're going to
rush to it. We're going to rush to it.
Like, the younger kids are not going to. Comedy changes so quickly.
That's a great point.
It frustrates me when you've got to age with your audience. Like, for example, there's some stuff that I did 5 years ago that I don't do anymore, because I'm a bit older now. Like, the audience is a little bit older. Like, if I did some of the stuff I did 8 years, 7 years ago, people would be like, bro, you've got a kid, you're acting like a dickhead on the internet. You got a kid, it's just weird for you to act like that. You can't continue to be the same. And I never understand when trilogies or number 2 of movies try to make a movie for the same age as you were, because it's like you're literally talking to a different audience now. They're older.
Shooter McGavin's a bit of a loose unit in real life. I hope he brings a bit of that flavour into it.
You know what? You know how they'd make it work? You know how they could make it work? Make him, he's still a villain, but you love him. So you need to this is what I'd do if I was doing Happy Gilmore 2. I would make him almost the anti-hero. So it would be he just swears,
just let him
disrespectful, old, rude. Imagine your granddad that has no political correct bone in his body.
Yeah, doesn't give a shit.
That would be hilarious. And it could, and basically he's a villain, but he's not. You don't do this whole arc of oh, I'm a good boy now. It's no, he just stays a villain.
No.
You know the movie Bad Santa?
Yeah.
That's what made it so funny.
Great movie.
It was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's what made it so funny. And I reckon if you went down the route of no, Shooter McGavin's the man, he's actually the guy, the anti-hero that we love, I reckon that would be fucking hilarious.
There's a strong chance.
And you just lean into him just being a grub and just a rude prick, but it's hilarious. I reckon that'd be good.
Shooter McGavin is one of the great Twitter followers of all time because he hasn't let the character go.
Yeah.
He just still
That's
pretends
the
he's
best.
himself.
It's the best, bro.
Shooter McGavin, greatest
He's
villain
been
of all
waiting
time.
for this moment. He's been promised it. He goes, no, I'm not going to go out of character.
Apparently, in real life, he got pulled over for a DUI or something, and he told the policeman, "I'm Shooter McGavin."
See, that's what I want to do. I want to see a movie about that shit. Like where essentially the main guy is Shooter McGavin, and it's about his comeback. And maybe he goes and gets Happy Gilmore to help him out on his comeback, but he has to learn to not be a fucking absolute dick to everyone. It would be so good.
Did you see when they released the trailer for it? And like Shooter McGavin was only in like a little tiny part of it, and he quote tweeted, and he's like, "Classic Adam Sandler, not putting me in his trailer." Blah blah blah.
That's the best. See, that's what I'm saying. Are we not all laughing at that
Yeah,
shit? That's
so
what it needs
good.
to be like in the
you're
movie.
right.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Alrighty, boys, time for some tips. Thanks to Sportsbet. As I said, guys, don't forget, grab some Grumpy Coffee. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au. Beautiful coffee. And also make sure to join the Bloke Club. You know the drill. You go in the draw to win a bunch of prizes. No strings attached. Completely free to join. Penny Panthers, North Queensland.
Yo 250. There's no way Panthers are losing.
Like, if Panthers go up there and play poorly, that's when I'll be like, ooh.
Well, it's down here as well. And
Sorry, apologies to go up there. I don't know why I said
and
that.
Canberra, and sorry, not Canberra, all over the place. Cowboys, their Sydney record's shocking.
If the Panthers can't turn up and play well down here, I know they're not at Penrith, like for Yoey's 250, that's when I'll be concerned.
pretty big
But I
moment.
reckon they're going to be going skits for his 250 because they're not going to want to let him down.
I do love how hard it is to tip at them. I can't remember a time like this. I love it. But yeah, Penrith.
I'm going Rabbitohs over the Roosters.
Yes,
me too.
100%.
Go Trill anytime.
I got Latrell 2 or more, Rabbitohs 13 plus.
Oh, what's that
love
playing?
that.
Feed. It is paying. I'll get it up for you. I'll get it up.
Juicy
I
enough.
reckon 12, 13.
It's pretty juicy, I think. Sorry, boys.
I hope that happens.
Very likely.
11.75.
Ooh,
Nice.
might jump on.
Okay. Para St. George.
Sorry,
St. George.
just got to go the Dragons.
Dragons, Gutho to tear up his old team.
No, yeah, it's
I
gonna
really
be
hope he does.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I love Gutho.
Yeah.
Titans, Dolphins.
Danger game.
good. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Big danger game.
I'm going to say Dolphins.
I say Titans.
I don't know. I can't remember who I tipped, but I have a feeling Dolphins might get their first win.
Broncos, Tigers.
Bronx by a lot.
Manly, Storm.
I think Hughes may be playing, so I'm going to go. Storm.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's a broken hand, so like,
You don't need that when you're a halfback.
I mean, you can't make it worse.
The old one-hand ball drop. Yeah, I'm going to go Storm. Bounce back.
Bulldogs, Knights.
Bulldogs.
Doggies.
Alrighty, that is us done and de-usted. Make sure to give the Great Door a follow. Brand new gym that go check out. Grab some Grumpy Coffee. Join the Bloke Club. Leave a positive review for us on Spotify or Apple. That'd be really helpful too. Make sure to like and subscribe. And as usual, we'll go fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.